And now, from the Room 111 studios, it's Hacking Engagement with James Sternovich.
Well, hey there, listener, and welcome back to the Hacking Engagement Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, this concept of 6 degrees of separation. And so I was looking for a good definition of this concept, so here it comes right here. 6 degrees of separation is the idea that all living things and everything else in the world are 6 or fewer steps away from each other. Now, this is relevant because my nephew, Russell Doup, and I were plopped down on the couch about a month ago, and we're watching this really interesting movie called The Founder, which stars Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc, the McDonald's guy. And, you know, he's doing all this networking. And my nephew, who I'm going to interview today, Russell Doup, he works in financial services. He's a stockbroker. So he has to do networking all the time. And I was impressed with the movie. I'm impressed with Russell. And I thought, man, I got to do a podcast episode on networking, on helping teachers help students to learn how to network. Now, this is very significant in my life because I hate to confess this, but I'm just being honest. I'm a social studies teacher. I have gotten 3 jobs all because I networked with the football coach to get an interview. Now, I'm not proud of admitting that, but, you know, life is what it is. And I knew that if I wanted to get a job as a teacher, all I needed to do was to get my foot in the door and do an interview, and then it was all up to me. But getting my foot in the door wasn't easy. So I don't feel like I was given a job, certainly because I was a football coach. I believe that I was given an interview because I was a football coach. And that part I'm not proud of, the idea that, you know, I had to get in through the side door, so to speak. But this concept of networking is powerful, man. And you know what? I don't think we do a good job of teaching our kids about networking. And that's what this show is all about. I'm going to have a young man on today that knows a lot about network. He's a networking champion, and he's going to promote the concept of networking. And my goal is to turn your students into networking machines. Buckle up, man. You're going to love this episode. Hey, so get this, listener. My publisher contacts me and says, I love the way Hacking Engagement is selling. How about doing 50 more? I was all over it like a cheap suit. So the name of the book is Hacking Engagement Again, 50 Teacher Tools That Will Make Students Love Your Class. And it's going to be available on Amazon's virtual shelves in the late summer of 2017. In the meantime, if you're looking for more teacher empowerment resources, as always, visit hacklearning.org. Now let's get back to the solutions part of the Hacking Engagement Podcast. So here we are in the Room 111 summer studios, and you might say, now hold on, man, it's the school year. What are you doing in the summer studios? And the answer is the summer studios are my house. And I'm in my house right now because I'm interviewing blood. I'm interviewing family. This is Russell Doup, my nephew. Good evening, Russell Doup.
Good evening.
You know, Russell and I, we just spent some time watching the Cowboys and the Redskins slosh around in the rain. He's my nephew. And how old are you now, Russ?
I'm 25.
25 big ones. And what are you doing for yourself for a living?
I do wealth management. I'm a registered advisor over in New Albany, Ohio, with the company Maxwell Financial Management.
Very good. So you've been doing that for about a year?
Yeah.
And before that, you were a proud Ohio State Buckeye, but not just a student of Ohio State University, but what'd you do there?
I also played football at Ohio State.
And that's why, you know, I say blood, and it's kind of like a spiritual type thing because I'm 5'7", Russell's 6'2", and can throw me around like a rag doll. But when I introduce him as my nephew, people say, wow, you've got some big genes in your family. I just go with it. He is my nephew on my wife's side, but I don't tell people that, man. Is that okay with you?
That's totally fine.
Well, I brought him on today because I've watched Russ. Russ is living with us for a little while till he gets his feet on the ground in the financial gig. And I've watched him, and one thing I'm impressed with him about is he is a networking machine. And as I talked in the interview, almost everything I've gotten in life is from just networking. And so I thought, what a perfect person to have on to talk about networking. You know about networking, don't you?
Yeah, just a little bit.
How would you describe, what is networking?
I would say it's the cultivation of relationships, and you can do that for business or even hobbies if you're wanting to just further develop any of those.
So it's like a social thing, and I imagine that you found that in your line of work, many times you're not even thinking, oh, this person could be a potential client, and then all of a sudden that thought pops into your head after you're interacting with these people, right?
Right. And it's more of like, they could potentially even just be a resource. They don't have to be a client. They could just be someone that can lead you to someone else and almost be a connector for you.
Okay, well, that's my next question, Russell, is a major key to networking is contacting that first person, but then asking them to direct you to someone else. Talk about that some.
Yeah, so when you're meeting with someone and you're just getting to know them, I mean, building that relationship with them, you want to kind of develop that even further, and that's where you start asking specific questions about other people you're looking to connect with. And I mean, it happens to me all the time with them asking me for someone and me asking for them about like, what do you want, or what are the kind of things you're looking for? And by getting to know them. And people don't want to work with someone that's just a taker. They want someone that's a giver also. So focusing more on the give side and how you can help them makes them want to help you even more. Well,
Russell's one of these guys that when you're around him, he's interested in what you're doing. I mean, if you're a painter, he's going to say, what you've been painting lately. If you're an athlete, he's going to say, what you've been doing lately. What's your workout like? But what you do, Russell, that I like so much is it's not phony. I mean, you do have a genuine interest in people, and that comes through in your networking.
Yeah, and people can tell if you actually have a genuine interest or if you're just trying to put up a front and pretend to be their buddy or friend.
Hey, now listen, man. You played football for Ohio State.
Yeah.
You played 6 games of high school football, right?
Correct.
So there had to be a little networking involved to get you on Ohio State's football team, right?
I think so. Yeah.
What happened?
Well, there's a couple people on the staff at Ohio State that my high school coach, they were assistants with him at Ashland University.
Right.
So I think that definitely helped me by having his name on there, just someone that...
Because you were kind of a nobody in high school football-wise, right?
I would say so. Not many people even knew I was on the team.
So Russell went down to Ohio State, probably weighed 170 pounds, left at
160.
230?
220.
220,
and 60 pounds.
Just go with 230, bro. Sounds great. So, in other words, you wouldn't have had that opportunity if it hadn't been for networking.
Right. So,
I imagine you can think of like, geez, I'll tell you what, I think every date I got in college was through networking. A lot of times I would ask a girl out and she said, no, but I have this nice friend.
Refer you to someone else.
As a matter of fact, I think I met the lovely Mrs. Sternwant through networking. You ever had a relationship through networking?
Yeah. I mean, I've met some of my old girlfriends just through, they knew my friend, and it was just kind of that introduction through them that led to the date.
Okay, every job I've gotten in teaching is through networking.
Yeah.
We mentioned Ohio State. Your tenure on the Ohio State football team was due to networking. Can you think of another example of how networking has benefited you?
Yeah, networking definitely benefited me for getting the job I have now, where it was through a family friend had me talk to the guy that he works with, who then talked with his partner, who then talked with a guy that started the firm I'm at, and that was the kind of chain of events that led to me getting the opportunity that I have.
So you're just nobody without those conversations.
Right.
You're just this faceless mass. You're one of the faceless masses. You have a face.
Right.
Okay. Did this come naturally to you, or did you have to work at it?
I'd say you definitely have to work at it. It comes naturally to people that are more extroverts, I'd say, than introverts.
Do you think you're an extrovert?
I'd say I'm definitely an extrovert.
Okay, but there's some great introverts that are networkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to, I mean, what are some things you've done to get better at networking?
I'd say just taking that leap and going to events by myself, because usually I'd always go hang out with friends, but it's being able to be comfortable of going to an event by yourself where you might know no one, but once you get out there and do network, you're going to end up knowing everyone, and hopefully people will all know what my face looks like eventually, and that's the end goal here, hopefully.
Now, do you feel like a big part of networking is making small talk?
I'd say yeah. Definitely small talk, and it obviously helps when I wear a national championship ring to just get a conversation started.
Right. Do you struggle with that sometimes?
Not too often, but I think I get that from my dad's side because he loves to network. And obviously my sister was the big talker back in high school that I didn't really get to talk too much, but I finally bloomed and blossomed once I got to college.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something right now. When I think of a person who's in financial planning, 25 years old, that's not necessarily a benefit. I mean, generally when people are trying to invest with somebody, one of the things that they want is experience.
Right.
So how do you use networking to get past that perceived handicap, the perceived obstacle?
It can be tricky sometimes, but the way that you kind of get past it is, one, you can tell people, a lot of people want someone that's going to be there for their whole life. And being young, I don't plan on going anywhere for a while. Right. So that's one way. And then also kind of at my firm, having the partners that are all older than me that have experience is a resource for me. And that's where I want to be a resource for people and having the resources that have done it.
So in other words, you battled that perceived disability with networking. You go into your firm and you say, I need help with this, this, and this. And your older colleagues help you. Yes, definitely. And being able to kind of stay humble, I don't know if that's the correct word, but say like, oh, I know this, I can go find it out. But using the resources that have that depth of knowledge and experience for different situations that I haven't experienced yet. And eventually I'll have those experiences, but you need experience to get them. Well, you know something, Russ? I'm a teacher of high school students, and I think being old is probably a liability. Where in your field, like being young is like a liability. So we both have to just kind of work with our obstacles. Yeah. And you know, one of the things that I do to maintain fresh in this field is I make this joke all the time that all my mentors are under the age of 30. Because they're the ones that know the technology. They're the ones that understand this contemporary generation better than me. So, man, I like when you said the word humble because we all need humility. And I think networking by its nature is humble. You're putting yourself out there and you're just being you're just not being an arrogant person and turning people off. You're saying, please help me. Help me connect to some other people. Right. And the other way that I've kind of just started recently is I'll ask someone if there's one thing that I could do to help you. What is that one thing? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's actually thrown people off because they don't know how to answer it because they might not have been answered that. Or if they're able to come up with one specific thing and you can help them with that, they'll be more willing to kind of help you. Do you ever ask somebody, who's one person that you could connect me with that might be a fascinating person for me to talk to? You ever ask that question? I haven't. I'll have to try that out. I mean, because I think that's a pretty disarming question. I mean, I think if somebody comes to me and they have this objective, this goal or whatever, and I can't really help them, but they say, Jim, do you know anybody that can help me with this? I'm gonna really try to find them someone. Right, and if you don't know an exact person, you could throw out someone that you know is a good networker because that person might know someone as well. Okay, Russell, I'm going to challenge you. I want you to ask that question to somebody tomorrow. Okay. and he has to go to work tomorrow. It's a Monday tomorrow, so you have the opportunity. Yeah. All right. So now here's the thing. So this is a show about helping kids, helping engage students. Did you get taught much about networking in schools? I'd say no. It was more of something when I got to college that just happened organically. Okay, did you get taught much about it in college? I'd say no, not directly. It was more indirectly. For football, we obviously had to go do events and do charity work and stuff, and definitely because of that, it kind of helped me just network on its own. So in other words, it's probably something that we're neglecting, both at the high school level, junior high school level, elementary school level, college level. And man, is it an important skill. Yeah. So here's this incredible skill. I mean, it's helped me tremendously. It's helped you, and we're in totally different fields, and it's helped us both. Mm-hmm. And we don't really discreetly teach it. Right. Isn't that interesting? It is. And that's where I met a kid that he's still in college, and he meets with all his professors, which I never really did back in the day. Mm-hmm. Not for that he needs the help, but just for them to get to know him better, because those are the people that have the experience that can connect him, and he's actually been able to help people that graduated get jobs because of knowing people. So my challenge to you is that you need to go and you need to ask somebody tomorrow, can you direct me towards someone who could help me? Your challenge to me is I got to figure out how to develop some type of lesson plan or some type of networking where my kids are actually doing it. Right. Now I have an idea for you. Okay. So my kids, we would come up with questions all the time. And the great thing about the internet is you can get in touch with anybody all over the world. So why not get in touch with an expert? So a really easy thing to do for teachers is, if your kids come to this amazing question, this amazing dilemma, this amazing puzzle, that they need to go ahead and they need to try to find somebody who's an expert, contact them via email. And guess what? They might not contact them back. That's life.
Right. It's happened to me.
You get the cold shoulder all the time, don't you?
You just get used to it.
So, but if you do talk to that person, they might not have the answer for you if you ask them, well, what's one more person that I could contact? What do you think of that?
I think it's a good one.
Would you have benefited from that as a student?
I think so. Just developing those relationships to maybe learn about a career that you didn't know about, or something that you had a passion for that you had no idea.
Or just getting the chutzpah to ask a question to someone you don't know.
Yeah. And maybe getting denied is the thing you're afraid of, and it kind of helps you overcome that.
Yeah. Okay, here's the deal. I want you to give teachers one piece of advice on something they could do to help young people learn how to network.
I would say maybe having them get together like icebreakers, or go to events that have icebreakers all the time, and trying to learn about people in the class that you probably maybe have never even spoken to, and just getting to know someone a little bit more. And you might find out that you have mutual relatives or something that you had no idea even happened, which has happened to me a lot. Is I've went and met people I had no idea who they were, and they've known people I knew from high school and college.
Don't they call that 6 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
So maybe a lesson would be applying the 6 degrees of separation principle.
Yeah, networking has benefited me in ways that I couldn't have dreamed. And the more times I go to events, the more times people remember my face, and then you realize that they know a lot of my friends that I had no idea these people knew, and I may have ran into them before and just never knew who they were. Well,
I'm going to tell you something, Russell. I'm proud of you. You're doing great. You're such a good mixer. You're such a good networker. I think that you would have even been better if you would have gotten maybe an early start.
Yeah, possibly. But that's where just getting out there and going to events and getting back here after you guys have gone to bed and don't see you sometimes for a week.
Yeah, that's right, man. Well, you're doing great, young man. Thanks for stopping in.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So here we are at the What You Can Do Tomorrow section. I love how Russell talked about icebreakers. Please try an icebreaker tomorrow. And if you need some ideas, go to episode 43. I've got 3 great ones there. When the icebreaker is over, poll your students. Ask them what they learned about their classmates that they didn't know before you did the icebreaker. So that's like a mini version of networking inside the classroom. Then challenge your kids to come up with a question, a mystery from the assignment or whatever subject you're studying at the present, and have them go outside the classroom and ask someone their opinion or ask for direction. It could be another teacher, a parent, an adult, a classmate, or perhaps somebody that they'd like to get to know. Now, when they ask this other person the question, the follow-up then is going to be, can you direct me to anybody else that might give me some more information? Then when they come back the next day, ask them what they learned, ask them about the experience, ask them if it was uncomfortable or how they could improve. And then here it comes, baby. Sometime soon in your class, when you are doing an activity that's very challenging, I want your students to try to find an expert and email that expert. And do the same thing. Ask that expert for some help in trying to solve a mystery or solve a problem or further enlightenment. But then again, ask the students to ask the person that they emailed if there's anyone else they can get in touch with that might help even further. I want to tell you something. This practice of getting into networking could pay off big time for these kids. I think it will, man. It is the way I've gotten the things that I value in life is through networking. And good luck tomorrow engaging your students.
Show notes for this episode can be found at jamesallensturnevant.com. If you enjoy Hacking Engagement, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes.